Boom! Here I am. So do you want to know how to bring this picture to this level? Let me show you my secrets in the simple steps of Lightroom. Last week I did an autumn photo shoot and I imported 4 new pictures that I am going to look at right now, and I'm going to edit one for you on the computer and show you my steps that I take. Okay, let's take a look at it. So, as you can see over here, I have 4 pictures over here and they have different characteristics. So this one is pretty dark. This one is a kind of mixed feeling with a high tones of blue. And I'm going to edit this picture for today. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going into the development mode. So after that, I'm going to look at the composition of the picture first. I always keep myself on the rule of thirds. And the rule of thirds is pretty simple because it's all about dissecting the picture in 9 even squares. And every square is defined by 2 lines, 2 vertical lines and 2 horizontal lines. And all those lines intersect with each other. So they have 4 points of intersection. And these are the natural points where all your focus will lay at when you look at a picture. So basically in this picture I see a well-balanced composition because the shadow of the tree is now dividing the first third. And the second third is divided by the ending of all the flowers that you see over there. So it's a well-balanced picture for my feeling, and I don't really need to adjust the whole composition anymore for this one. Furthermore, you have, because of that, a clear distinction of foreground, middle ground, and background, which is defined by the sky and the tree. So let's take a look at the other things then. The next thing that I'm going to look at is the histogram, because the histogram tells me a lot of information, especially when I look at a picture and I can only take a reference on the things that I see over there on the screen. The histogram is very convenient for that because it shows me what to look at in the blacks, the shadows, the exposure range, and the highlights, and then the whites as well. And it shows me what the color balance is of the whole picture. And as you can see over here with this histogram, you can see that the whole picture is all based around the highlights and the whites of the picture, because it has a very big area over there which is blue and which is very oversaturated regarding the blue lights and the highlights as well. So in order to bring that picture more into balance, I need to bring this whole bump that we see over here with the highlights and the whites more towards the middle. So the exposure part. And that is the biggest thing that we are going to do with this picture now. So in order to bring that more towards the middle, I need to see what the highlights are. Those are basically yellow, green and blue, red. And I'm going to bring them back with the highlight section over here and bring them more towards the middle. As you can see, the color will become richer again then. And afterwards I'm also taking the whites and I'm going to bring them back as well a little bit. So like this. Now highlights, I can see that the highlights still need a little bit of kick. So I'm bringing that in as well. Furthermore, I see also that the exposure is pretty high, so I can bring it back a little bit to give more richness to the picture. And furthermore, I can see that the contrast needs a little bit less contrast, so everything will be bumped more towards the middle. In order to compensate for that, I'm going to increase the clarity a little bit, and I'm going to increase the vibrance of the picture a little bit. And you'll see that the whole picture looks a bit more into balance at the moment. Okay, the shadows need a little bit more of kick, so I'm bringing those back a tiny bit in order to bring the picture more into balance. and I see that the saturation is pretty high, so I bring the saturation back a tiny bit as well. As you can see over here, the picture has now a little bit more oomph, a little bit more, yeah, kick into it. And that's all because of the whole histogram that has changed, with more saturation towards the exposure part instead of the more highlight and white parts as well. So this is basically the step that I take in order regarding the histograms as well. And then we are going into the section of the colors over here. So we see that the picture over here has a lot of blue and green into it because it's a picture of a landscape into nature. So let's go into the green ones and let's bring it more towards a more fall autumny color. So I bring it more towards yellowish, and I will bring the saturation to a higher level in order to give it more like, oh yeah, this is a nature kind of feeling. And furthermore, I can also bring the luminance a bit to the higher levels as well. The same thing I will do with the more aqua colors as well, because I want to give the more fall autumn feeling to the photo, and it means that all the blue greenish hues will be brought more towards the green side instead of the blue side, and we'll see then that the picture has another feeling to it as well. Next to that, I'm also going to take a look at the blue colors of the picture, because there's a lot of sky into it. So let's say that we bring the color of the blue sky more into a different type of blue, and I'm going to saturate it as well. You see that the histogram has already changed, so the overexposure in the green area will be more distinct at the moment, and that you will also see that in the picture as well. You see a clear, defined distinction between green and blue hues at the moment in the picture. So let's see what a luminance then does. It's kind of a trial and error thing that you have to do sometimes, and sometimes you'll see that that you will get a more dramatic effect if you bring the luminance back on a certain color, or if you bump it to a higher level as well. So in this case, I think the dramatic effect will be a bit more if we bring it back a little bit. So yeah, and you can also see in the histogram again, so always use that as a reference point for all the things that you are doing in the picture, that it will create a bump over here in the exposure part as well. I'm still not entirely sure what I want to do with this one, so the highlights is something that I can take a look at again. Like, do I want to do this? Seems right to me. And after I'm done with all the things over there, I can always take a look at the split toning. In this case, I'm not very sure if I want to change something about this, because I'm very content with all the hues that I see at the moment in the picture. Afterwards, after that part, I go into detail and see if I can click on a detail over here and see if I can bring it to a sharper point in the picture. So do I need to sharpen it? In this case, let's see what happens if I sharpen it a little amount, like 30%, something like that. And of course that brings some very harsh edges to it, but I can always bring it back with a little bit of noise reduction and make it a little bit softer again, which gives it a very nice finishing touch to it. In this case, I can always use a little bit of lens correction, because every lens, including this one of the camera over here, has a little bit of warp into it, and in Lightroom you can also correct that. So in this case I was using the 1835 lens of Canon. And do you have already some presets into it? So let's say I think the 2835 one is a pretty solid preset for me in this case. So I've always used it for correcting my pictures as well. So as you can see right now, the picture looks a lot different than the picture that we had in the beginning. So this is the original picture, and this is the picture how we edited them. So this is basically how I edit most of my pictures. These are simple steps and everyone can follow them, and if you go back into your histogram and look at it and tweak it and do a kind of little trial or error thing, you can always see that your picture will come out better through Lightroom than you shot it. So yeah, I hope that this video gives you a clear indication and gives you some simple steps that you can take in mind for your pictures in order to edit them and in order to bring them to the next level for your photography. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel, because every week I will post a new video with some interesting stuff that is all around content creation, music or lifestyle. So please, I hope to see you next week with a new post. Ciao!